It's 6:02, and I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask, Braden, are you going to do a roll call for us?
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'll call the roll. Chairperson Silvas,
I'm here, thank you.
Commissioner Diana,
Here.
Commissioner Freeman, Commissioner Salam, Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Okay, thank you.
So the roll shows that we do have a quorum. So I'd like to move on to approval of the minutes of our previous meeting, which you have in your packet. And that's from January 26th, which is a meeting we conducted over Zoom. Is there a...
I move to approve.
Thank you, Patty. Is there a second?
I will second it on the assumption that that must be accurate.
Thank you, Chris. We have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes from January 26th. Is there any discussion? If not, I'll call for the question. All in favor of approving the minutes from January 26th, say aye.
Aye.
Actually, since we're doing it virtually, Braden has to do a roll call.
Okay, thank you for reminding me, Sheila. Sorry about that. As soon as
That's okay.
I said that, I remembered.
Chairperson Silvas,
Aye.
Commissioner Diana,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman, Commissioner Salam, Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Thank you.
The ayes have it and the motion passes. Next item on the agenda are any additions to the agenda. So are there any additions to the agenda for this evening?
Yes, there is. We need to add the annual action plan. We provided you the memo, but we forgot to put it on the agenda. So we need to add that under new business.
Okay. Do you want that item C under new business, or do you want to do it first or last under new business?
I don't care.
Okay, we'll just do it last.
Okay.
Thank you, Sheila.
Mm-hmm.
And I see Robert has joined us. So welcome, Robert. We just approved the minutes and we're working our way down the agenda.
Sounds good.
Was there any public input provided to staff via email or anything?
No.
And there's, of course, no one here. And I don't, Jason, how do I see if there's anyone in the...
If you click your participants button down at the bottom, then that should come up under participants. Then you have the 7 panelists, which is the board and staff, and then attendees. So we don't have anyone from the public currently present.
Okay, so the one attendee would be you.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that means there's no one here and no one sent in information for public input. So we can move on to presentations, and that would be the staff report.
Sure. And this has been kind of a fast-moving month, so we don't have anything in writing to you, but we do have a couple of things we'd like to bring up. Our March meeting is spring break week, and so we would like to move it to the following week, March 30th. We have a fairly large agenda, and so, and we'll have things that need a vote, so I'd rather shift it out of spring break week if you guys would be okay with that.
I think that's okay.
That's fine with me too.
And will you send us an invitation?
I will.
A change or a note that we're changing the date?
Yeah, there's 5 Tuesdays in March, which is unusual, but this one will be March 30th, and I will send a note out so everyone is able to get it.
Okay.
Hey, Sheila,
Yes, sir.
that's Holy Week for us. So I know that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that whole week, I'm tied up. So I will not be present. So if you have a quorum, just know that I won't be present that Tuesday.
Okay, well, let me look. Jeez. You said Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday's Good Friday, so we don't want to do it then.
Sheila, for the regular meeting, are there staff problems with coming on spring break week? Or why would we not do it on the regular week?
Just trying to get public participation, and we don't on a good day, but when we do it during spring break, we've had complaints before. We could move it to the 16th, if you guys want. That's gonna,
That'll be better for, not this person speaking, that'll be better for me because I know that week is like Christmas.
yeah.
Is there anything to do with dates or time intervals of anything we need to work on then for
It's true.
commission or anything like that that would be affected by moving it one way or the other?
No, we're going to have the draft consolidated plan or annual action plan go out for the 30-day public comment period on March 15th. And so we would like to have a public hearing, which you guys had one in January, and we'll have another one in March. We're looking at doing a public input meeting virtually the second week of March. We're waiting to finalize some dates with, there may be some conflicts right now. And then trying to think of what all is on our agenda. Bond cap, which you guys have done before, that's not time sensitive. If we moved it up early, it wouldn't hurt anything. Braden, was there anything else that we can think of?
No, I think that's all we have for now for the March agenda.
Okay. Yeah. So no, and then when we meet again on the April 27th, the annual action plan will have been through City Council. But then, you guys always have an opportunity to provide comments and input anytime. We don't have to wait just till the meeting.
Mhm.
For myself, any dates in March are fine with me. I mean, I'm not going anywhere for spring break.
Yeah, I'm not sure that spring break has the same relevance that it normally does.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So anything's
Well,
fine with me.
Okay. I will be out of town, but I can call in, so that's not a problem. We'll just leave it then on our regular date of March 23rd. All right. The other thing we wanted to bring up to you was we would like to implement a change to our housing rehab manual that you guys adopted last year with the consolidated plan, and add a section that says any repair of $250 or less will be the homeowner's responsibility to pay. We get very few of these, but this winter we got 2, and they weren't like the furnace was out and people, couldn't afford the $250. It tends to be maintenance issues or whatever, and that's consistent with what other communities do throughout our region, including Champaign. It's a lot of work for staff to take an application for a $250 repair. So just wanted your feedback and thoughts on that before we formally bring it forward to add to the manual.
Well, given that it seems to be rare, I think it's okay. I would be concerned if this was if many people did this a lot and we were really causing, creating unnecessary hardships, but it sounds like it's not in the cost benefit.
No, and it's usually, somebody's furnace or AC quits working and it's because they haven't changed their filter. And so the service people go out and it's, $175. And so it's not for the major repairs. It tends to be that little things. And I think if we aren't implementing it yet because, we have to do it with your guys' approval, but I think if we go into the project and let people know that if it's $250 or less, it would be your responsibility, then I think that's fair versus throwing it on them, at the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Sheila, can you give me a numerical breakdown of how many people that affect? And what would be the median income that we're talking about for their family?
Well, the programs are for anybody 80% or MFI or below.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have that up in front of me. I'll pull it up here. Like a single person household would have to make 42 or less, I believe. So, and that's getting ready to change, but it typically goes up. It doesn't typically go down. Oops.
Do those small repairs like that, the couple that you had there, is that, do you know, have any knowledge if that's more in unawareness of the simplicity of the repair or an inability to do it?
No, I think it's unawareness, and that's part of our job too. Pastor Freeman, if for a single person household, they have to make less than $46,850 a year. Family of 4, it's $66,900.
Thank you so much, Sheila.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I would say the only thing that I've ever seen happen with some of those kind of threshold is people are, I don't know how much counseling you can give them or how much over the phone estimate kind of a thing you can do. People are very bad at estimating costs on things like that. So sometimes you could, with a threshold of 250, you could have people not calling in some $400 or $500 repairs because they think it might be under 250. That would be the only potential downside I could see,
Yeah. And when I was at Champaign, this was language that they currently use too. And we would just let people know that we'll go ahead and, especially like if it's a furnace or a sewer or something that just cannot wait for the application process, we would let them know, we're going to send someone out, but if it's $250 or less, it'll be your responsibility. And so letting them know at that point was fair, because you're right. We don't want somebody to wait on a repair. And many of the, especially HVAC that I'm aware of, people will now do like a loan or a payment plan with their clients. So, and if this becomes a big issue, we can always bring it back. But I think putting it in and letting people be aware of it is, like I said, a fair process.
That sounds okay to me. I mean, on the one hand, we want to help people. On the other hand, we want them to feel responsible and take responsibility too. And that means putting a little bit of effort and money into things. So I think that's a decent way to do it. And it's also consistent with other communities too.
Right.
Okay. And I'm sensitive to the cost of the administrative costs and transactional costs of all these things. It just gets to be where, that just doesn't make sense to me to spending that much time and effort on, small value repair that's of little value to the homeowner.
Right. And it's just, it's Braden and I, so it's or it was Alyssa and I. So there's just a lot for two people.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I guess I jumped into proposed changes.
Okay, you need to talk to us now, and then we'll vote on it under new business. Is that it shows up in the
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we just needed to talk about it now.
Yep.
Okay. So we're still in the staff report.
Yep, that's it. Braden and I just been attending trainings and getting ourselves organized for the annual action plan 21-22.
Thank you, Sheila. Any other questions or comments about the staff report before we move on? Okay. The next item on our agenda is unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business to bring before the commission?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Then we're on to new business and back to the proposed changes to the housing manual. So are there other changes that you want to talk about, Sheila, or is it just the change in this threshold for repair?
No, just this change in the threshold.
Okay. And do we need a vote on that?
Yes.
Okay. So is there a motion?
I move to approve that we add this change to the manual.
Is there a second?
Second.
So there's a motion and a second to make the changes to the housing manual. Is there any discussion? Okay, Braden, will you call the roll?
Certainly. Chairperson Silvis,
Aye.
Commissioner Diana,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman,
Aye.
Commissioner Salam, Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
The ayes have it and the motion passes. Thank you, Braden. So then we're on to the second item under new business, the fiscal year 2021-2022 consolidated social service funding priorities. And Braden or Sheila, do you want to set up this discussion?
I believe that's me. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sheila.
Thank you.
Nope. Go ahead.
Yeah, so as you see the memo in the packet, we are beginning the process of discussing what the priorities for the Consolidated Social Service Funding Program will be for this coming fiscal year. Typically, we would be in the process of soliciting applications, but just this year, because of some of the COVID projects we're still working on, we're pushing that back a little bit. But we wanted to get the discussion started with you all about, what projects, what types of things we could prioritize. So you'll see in the memo, let me just get it pulled up here really quick. I apologize. You'll see some of the things we've focused on in the past, some of our priorities in previous years, and also some priority needs that we see in the community. So that's kind of a starting point, but any other suggestions or ideas are definitely welcome as well. And Sheila, anything I missed, feel free to add.
Yeah, and just to clarify, this is for the $5,000 CDBG contribution. The city as a whole will put in $80,000, but you guys focus on the CDBG portion.
So I have a question from the memo. It lists specific goals and priority needs, and is that already in a draft priority order? Like specific goal number 1 is provide decent affordable housing options, and that is currently the drafted top goal?
Those are pulled out of our consolidated plan. So they're not, there's no rhyme or reason to the order. It's just, those are needs that we have seen as priorities when we did the 5-year plan.
Okay, so then is the outcome of our discussion meant to be just a reordered list by priority then? So,
and Chris can give some history on this if I'm not correct, but in the past, you guys have kind of chosen, we would really like to focus this funding on training for low-income persons, job training, benefits. I think that's been a priority the last couple of years. So, I think you could pick one of these and say, if you get applications, this is the priority that we'd like you to see you focus on.
That's right. I remember that now from last year that I think we focused on financial training for really know how to get a good loan or manage their finances, that kind of thing. Yeah, like $1,000 anyway, right? So
right. And we're kind of waiting. We may bring this, we may know more in March meeting or bring it in April. We're kind of waiting. So much of the community between the county, Champaign, Urbana, and the social service agencies have received extra COVID funding to offset the impact of that. So we're kind of waiting a little bit to see where there's a gap once that money is spent to set priorities for the consolidated social service funding. And I asked Braden to bring this forward because my fear is once we launch it, if it's kind of between meeting dates and we don't give you guys an opportunity to set that priority, we might miss that step, and I don't want to do that.
In the past, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, we have said something like 3 goals. Sometimes we put them in order and sometimes we just list 3 priority areas. And we've had discussion around the strategy of giving you some direction, but without limiting you if something comes along or if conditions change. So it indicates some priority, but it also gives you as much flexibility as we're comfortable with. And for that reason, I kind of like listing more than one, and also thinking about describing them in terms that are broad. And as I recall, these goals that you've listed here, specific goals, seem broader than the priorities that we've listed in the past.
You could even do something like youth services. So then if, a program came forward that was job training or that was an after school program or, different programs come forward, then as long as it served youth, which is who you guys wanted to serve, it would fit into that.
Yeah, that's been our strategy before. In fact, I think one year we did choose youth services. One year we chose homelessness. And so they're a little bit broader.
Right. And I will let you know, community-wide, there is a lot of extra funding coming into the community for rent assistance and then homeless emergency solutions grant. We're helping administer a $200,000 grant that's helping CU at Home and Cunningham Township that are both offering services. So not that they aren't a priority, but I just don't know how much you guys realize money coming into the community.
Yeah, Sheila, this is Robert Freeman. I'm sitting on various boards and I'm seeing all these money flow streams going into a lot of programs. And I started thinking about what we can actually do. And I like the idea of being broad enough for us to sit a little bit and just kind of see how all this money is going to filter in. Because this is the 5th meeting this week. I'm hearing over $50,000 going for CU at Home, and it's a lot of money floating, and I just don't want people to take away from a program that really needs it. So I just kind of lean towards the idea of waiting a little bit, leaving some flexibility, and then seeing where we can plug in and make a real difference for someone or some agency or some group.
Right. And we could push this to the March meeting too. We just wanted to bring it to your attention because we aren't going to launch the social service funding application process until probably after our March meeting. I've been talking to the township and, they're kind of on the same boat we are. We really want to capture where those gaps are in the community and set priorities there. Plus, the city has bought a new software to help us with management of these programs, and that will be implemented hopefully over the next 30 days too.
So so I see that we have a couple options here. One option is to wait and not make the decision. The other option is to identify 3 priorities that are broad and give some flexibility and take care of it now. So what's your preference?
I guess I would ask you guys what your preference is.
Yeah, I just did.
Well, my current
Because I don't have one. I mean, we can talk about it in March again, and I don't feel like we will leave any agency out of the loop that's kind of anticipating this money July 1. Everybody, all of the agencies are just so busy trying to serve people and help people that are really struggling right now.
It sounds
Do you
like
think there'll be enough additional information available by the March meeting where we'll have a better idea where these funds are going, or does it seem like it's going to take a little longer than that to figure out where all these other program monies are going?
No, I can absolutely provide you that. I could probably send you an email tomorrow. Like the county just got a little over $5 million to help with emergency rental assistance and utilities. And that covers the entire county. It's not just Champaign or Urbana. So, we wouldn't want to prioritize our funds there. We've got countywide about $750,000 for to help the homeless or near homeless, and we're administering $200,000 of that to CU and Home in Cunningham Township. We just gave funding to First Followers to help because they have a unique group of people that their clients are not considered homeless according to HUD's definition because they had a place to sleep the night before, but once they leave the prison system, we know many of them quickly become homeless. And so they're running a welcome home program that will help people get their driver's license, get their ID, provide them a limited cell phone so they can apply for jobs. And so, that funding is out there and available too. So, but I'm sure that there's, we feel like at least Cunningham Township and Urbana feel like there may be some groups that we just haven't seen yet because school may not be in session or, remote learning that we don't want to focus setting priorities when we don't have all the information we need.
Well, I would think that if you could provide us with a list like that, it might make it easier for us to come up with 3 categories that are maybe broadly cover some of the gaps that might be in there and give us some good flexibility then to put it where it's needed the most. So.
Okay, I can do that.
So did we decide that we'll take this up again in March then, at the March 23rd meeting?
I believe
Yes.
so.
Okay.
Yes, I agree.
Everybody's
Sounds
comfortable with
reasonable.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And thank you, Sheila, for providing that additional information.
Sure.
So that brings us to the annual action plan as an item under new business.
Yeah. There's no vote on this. I just kind of wanted to walk through some things, and then you have the best available draft that we have right now. The only changes I can see happening to what you have is right now we don't know what our funding is going to be from HUD. We are being told that it's the same as last year, so that's what I put in the budget. But if it changes a little bit one way or the other, we'll just change it proportionately. And I think that's something we've done in the past and not been a problem. The other thing that I wanted to touch base on is, as you look through the funding and the budgets, under emergency grant access, we're adding a new initiative, energy efficiency programs. Ameren has reached out to Urbana and is wanting to work with us to provide energy efficiency upgrades. So for example, and this program is still in the design phase, but during the COVID, our building property maintenance people weren't obviously going into buildings. So I had them do a windshield survey of our targeted neighborhoods, and then they ranked the health of the house. And then that will help Braden and I, as we look at that data, identify, we really want to focus our efforts in this census tract based on this data. It shows the biggest need. And we just got that data last week. So we're working on, deciding which is best, but it may be that Ameren can pay for new HVAC systems and upgrades, new windows or airtight ceiling or insulation. There's a lot of things that we can partner with them on. They want to serve the same group of people that we serve. And so we're kind of working through that new initiative. Our senior repair program, we are going to do outreach to Champaign County Regional Plan Commission and ask that they manage the program for a couple of reasons. One, our staff capacity, but the other one is their staff, when they go out to these homes, they kind of assess other needs. So maybe somebody needs Meals on Wheels, or somebody needs help with medicine. They know the resources that they can help guide people to. And so these are our very small repairs that are $1,000 or less. So it's not like it's a large one. We estimated that typically we do 12 to 15 a year. So this budget includes doing 20 houses. So it's a little high, but that's how I like to budget. Does anybody have any questions on either of those two before I move on?
Seems like a good idea to consolidate with the Regional Planning Council. That just seems like a nice, efficient use of resources.
Yeah, and Champaign does it, and we all like the idea of, you know, especially the services for our seniors that's provided through RPC, who has so many other resources for them. The other neighborhood revitalization, this can be a number of things, and nothing is identified at this point, but it can include infrastructure improvements. It could include public facility improvements. It could include an example of this, although it doesn't qualify, but to help you understand a public facility, like if Urbana Neighborhood Connections came to us and said, we need a new roof, because that serves, it's in a low-income neighborhood and it serves the target population that's a priority for us, we could potentially use these funds for that. That project doesn't qualify because that building's owned by the housing authority, but that's just an example of something that we could do. And then we also use this money and have in the past for other programs like the blight reduction program. We partnered that with money we got from the Illinois Housing Development Authority. So there's just a variety of things that we can do with it. Our public service funding, we set aside $61,000. That is less than the 15% that we're allowed. $40,000 will be used to manage our transitional housing programs, which includes utilities, maintenance, that type of thing. The $5,000 for the consolidated social service funding. And then I put in the budget this year to do 2 neighborhood cleanups. We did not do one last year because of COVID. And so I think it's going to be important to probably budget to do 2 this year. And then the balance is our home funding. We have been in contact with a couple over the last year, developers that have inquired about the home funding, but right now nobody is really serious about building. But those funds in the past have gone to things like Crystal View or Highland Green. We used to do our single family rehab program through here. So right now we're just kind of have the money set on reserve in case we get information from a developer. And if not, we'll look at other programs we could potentially do with it. Our next steps in this process will be, we'll have a public input meeting in March that I will invite you guys to. And then we'll have our public hearing on March 23rd at the beginning of your meeting. I'm anticipating it going to City Council, their first meeting in April, which will be April 5th. And then final adoption by them from April 12th. Then we will submit it to HUD in May.
That sounds really good, and thank you so much for that clear explanation, Sheila.
Mm-hmm.
Sheila, I'm really excited about the Ameren connection. I know
Yeah,
last
I am.
year they came
am
through
too.
with the faith communities. I don't know if you knew that or not. In Urbana,
Mm-hmm.
Ameren came in and assessed our buildings, our windows, everything, and so we're almost about 90% green in our faith in our church.
That's great.
Because of Ameren. And so they're going to come back and look at the boiler and see if they, so I'm glad to hear that. That's great. That's good news.
Yeah. They also have, which isn't really a part of us, but I have shared it with our economic development team. They also have programs to use for businesses in the community too. So hopefully some of them can take advantage of it like the churches have, faith groups.
Any other comments on the annual action plan questions for Sheila or for Braden?
I would just echo the idea that I like the idea of consolidating some of those planning visits with other organizations. Most of that, or a lot of that, is not really high tech that needs to be looked at. And I think that's just a real wise way to do it. No point in having 3 or 4 people going in to look at something that could be looked at by one. So.
Right.
That's going to save a lot of time, all that scheduling and messing around trying to find people. And
I feel like it provides a better customer service because, you know, my parents are 83 and live in Urbana. And if you ask them if they needed anything, they would say, oh, no, I'm fine. But, you know, if someone went out there to help them, they would see, oh, yeah, my mom needs help with her medicine. And they could use Meals on Wheels. And, you know, and they have the know-how to assess that. Plus, they can do it in a way that feels complimentary versus, you know, bossy, or you know what I mean. I tend to be bossy, but they're my parents.
Not as intrusive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier and quicker from their end too to be dealing with one person than
Right.
3 or 4. A lot less confusing. So.
yeah. Okay, any other comments or questions before we adjourn? None? Well, having exhausted the items on our agenda, I call the meeting adjourned. And thank you for your participation. And I guess we'll see you on the 23rd of March. And in the meantime, Sheila, maybe Patty and I at least can help you get the word out about those neighborhood conversations.
Yep, we sure will. I'll send a notice to all of the commissioners, and then if they can share it. Our thought is that we'll just have a virtual meeting at 6 o'clock where people can call in and or you know, Zoom in, and hopefully we'll get some good participation and information.
Yeah, a link. I'm just thinking about timing here. Maybe a day or week before a notice of when it was going to be, and then a link to the PDF of the documents might be helpful. Give people a chance to look it over before they meet.
Right. Yeah, we've got the notice ready to go. Hopefully by Friday of this week, I will know for sure if my proposed date will work, and we'll get the information out, which should give people a good 10, 12 days to look at it.
That's great. That'll work well. Okay, I guess that's it. We are adjourned. If we can chat a little bit longer, but I guess officially we're adjourned.